One 80s sci-fi movie showed nuclear war so brutally realistic that audiences were left shaken and sick to their stomachs. Another turned a late-night TV broadcast into something so disturbing it was treated like a mental infection you couldn't unsee. These are the 10 most extremely brutal sci-fi movies of the 80s. Number 10, XTRO.
I'm not the same as before. Do you remember when they took me?
The alien return movie that feels wrong on purpose. XTRO doesn't warm you up. 1 minute a man is gone, the next he's back years later, looking human, but moving through every scene like something inside him got replaced. His young son starts acting differently too, like the weirdness is spreading. And what makes it brutal isn't just blood or body horror, it's the atmosphere. The movie holds on faces a little too long. The silence in ordinary rooms starts to feel threatening. Then it hits you with the stuff people still mention, like they're recounting a nightmare. That toy soldier moment that turns deadly. And the infamous birth scene that's so physical and practical looking, it sticks in your head. In the UK, it made it to theaters without turning into a huge public scandal. But once the early 80s home video panic kicked in, it got pulled into that same dangerous tape conversation. So, it picked up a reputation as one of those movies you weren't really supposed to have, even if it wasn't the main headline. And if you're into movies like this, films that got cut, censored, or passed around like rumors, hit subscribe, because we're not done digging up the stuff Hollywood would rather you forget. Number 9, Contamination.
Call in the flamethrowers.
The exploding egg splatter flick that got treated like contraband. This is an Italian sci-fi horror movie built on one simple, nasty idea. Alien eggs show up on Earth, and if you get too close, you don't just die, you burst. The movie even went out under different titles in different places, and one of the names linked to it, Alien Arrives on Earth, basically admits what it was going for: cash in on the alien hype and crank the shock up. And that's exactly how it plays. Instead of saving the gore for one unforgettable moment, it keeps chasing that same body breaks payoff again and again. No slow tension, no careful buildup, just splatter, right in your face. The wild part is what happened around it. During the UK's VHS panic era, movies like this could get flagged, seized, delayed, or treated like something you weren't supposed to have at all. So, the safest way to put it is, Contamination wasn't just gross on screen. It also lived in a time when that kind of imagery could get a release treated like contraband. And that's a big reason it still carries a grimy reputation. Number 8, Videodrome.
Are we waiting? Please.
The sci-fi nightmare that treats television like a disease. Videodrome is Cronenberg taking media addiction and asking the creepiest question possible. What if the screen doesn't just mess with your head metaphorically? What if it does it literally? A sleazy cable programmer discovers a secret broadcast that looks like pure torture footage, but the real horror is what comes after. The signal doesn't just shock you, it starts changing you. Hallucinations bleed into real life. The body turns against itself. Reality gets soft around the edges, like it's melting. And back then, censors and ratings boards didn't know what box to put that in. In the US, it ran into ratings trouble. Cuts were part of getting it released, and it ended up with a cautious, limited rollout instead of a big, wide push. On top of that, movies like this often circulated in different versions depending on the market, especially on home video. The safe, accurate takeaway is, Videodrome faced serious censorship pressure, ratings fights, trims, restricted distribution, and in parts of Canada, it also ran into obscenity or regulatory pushback for a time. Because what really freaked people out wasn't only the gore, it was the idea that media can rewrite you. Watching it now, it doesn't feel like an old sci-fi concept. It feels like a warning. Number 7, Scanners.
I would like to scan all of you in this room, one at a time.
The movie with the moment that became its whole reputation. Scanners doesn't waste time. It sets up a public demonstration, quiet room, tense faces, everyone expecting a serious lecture, and then it hits you with a sudden practical effect so shocking it basically became the movie's calling card. What makes it even nastier is how it was done. Effects legend Dick Smith built a rigged prop head stuffed with messy, realistic materials and blood effects, designed to blow convincingly on camera. People argue about the exact ingredients, but the point is simple. It was all practical, it looked horrifyingly real, and it worked. The film also ran into censorship and cuts in different places. And in the UK, it existed in that wider video nasties climate where extreme tapes could get treated like a problem. But Scanner sticks for more than the gore. Under the shock, it's still Cronenberg doing what he does best. Power games, institutions, and human bodies being treated like something you can control. Number 6, Society.
Houston invited you? Come on, give me a break. I'm not in the mood, all right?
This is the rich kid movie that turns into a full-body nightmare. Society starts out looking like a slick, expensive teen drama. Perfect hair, perfect houses, perfect smiles. Then it quietly starts feeling wrong. Bill Whitney is a rich kid who can't shake the feeling that his family and their high society friends are performing normal a little too well, too polite, too rehearsed. And the more he digs, the more the movie reveals what it's really saying. The upper class aren't just privileged, they're predators. The film plays like a mystery until the final act, where it blows the doors off with the infamous shunting sequence, bodies merging and reshaping in a grotesque practical effects storm that's also the metaphor made literal. That finale is why it became controversial and why some releases were handled cautiously or censored depending on where it played. And it's exactly why it became a cult classic, because it's not just trying to gross you out, it's aiming at a target. Number 5, Turkey Shoot.
They're going to make obedient little citizens out of us.
Hooah!
Society.
The dystopia where the rich hunt people for fun. This movie takes a simple, ugly idea and cranks it into full grindhouse mode. You've got political prisoners shoved into a camp, then released into the wild so the ruling class can hunt them like it's entertainment. And the movie doesn't play it classy. It gets nastier as it goes, dirty violence, chaotic set pieces, and this constant feeling that the future has no rules and zero mercy. It also picked up a reputation in the censorship-heavy home video era, with different cut versions floating around and the film getting treated like one of those problem titles people argued over. Add in all the wild behind-the-scenes stories fans love repeating, and you get why the comparison sticks. It's the rich hunt, the poor nightmare long before Hunger Games made that idea mainstream. Number 4, Robocop.
Protect the innocent. Let the woman go, or there will be trouble.
The blockbuster that had to wrestle the ratings board to the ground. Robocop is a big studio sci-fi movie, but it hits with the blunt force of something underground. It's well known the film ran into ratings board trouble and went through multiple rounds of edits before it could be released the way the studio needed. And the reason is right there on screen. Murphy's death isn't fast or heroic. It's dragged out, humiliating, and vicious. Like, the movie wants you to feel how disposable people are in this world. Then it keeps throwing brutal scenes at you, but here's the twist. The violence is the satire. It's showing you a future where corporations treat human beings like products, and it refuses to make that message comfortable. Outside the US, it also ended up with different toned-down versions in different places, especially for TV, because broadcasters didn't want that much gore hitting living rooms. Robocop is brutal because it's not just shocking, it's making a point with every hit. Number 3, The Thing.
This thing doesn't want to show itself.
The horror sci-fi that punishes you with paranoia. The Thing is considered a classic now, but when it first came out, a lot of people rejected it. Critics were harsh, audiences didn't all vibe with how bleak it was, and it faced censorship pressure in some places, plus later edits for TV. And honestly, it's easy to see why. It's a mean movie. The monster isn't just a killer. It can copy anything perfectly, which means the real horror isn't only what it does to bodies, it's what it does to trust. Suddenly everyone's a suspect, every conversation feels loaded, and every glance looks like an accusation. Then, when the creature finally reveals itself, the practical effects go straight into nightmare territory, flesh twisting, biology turning inside out, survival becoming disgusting. Carpenter has talked about how important moments like the blood test were, because that's where the tension snaps into instant violence. And the ending? It doesn't comfort you. No clean win, no clear answer. Just the worst possible question hanging in the cold. Who's still human? That's why it stays brutal even after the credits. Number 2, Threads. The sci-fi film that's brutal because it's believable. Threads is sci-fi in the most terrifying way, because it isn't about aliens or robots. It's about something humans can actually do. When it first aired on the BBC in 1984, it hit like a warning siren, so hard that a lot of viewers genuinely felt like they'd watched something closer to a documentary than a drama. It starts with ordinary life, families, routines, small plans. Then nuclear war drops like a hammer, and the film refuses to look away. It shows collapse in grim, grinding detail. Systems failing, food disappearing, long-term suffering, and the way survival itself becomes a kind of trauma. So instead of every government bandit, the safe, accurate truth is, Threads became notorious because broadcasters and educators treated it as exceptionally disturbing, and its reputation as one of the harshest nuclear war depictions ever filmed has stuck for decades. The brutality is that it doesn't let you escape. It forces you to sit with the wreckage. Number 1, Death Warmed Up.
Stay out of my way.
The underground gore future that refuses to calm down. Death Warmed Up feels like a movie that survived by rumor. A New Zealand sci-fi gore fest where a brainwashed man commits a horrific act, escapes confinement, and ends up pulled into an island nightmare run by a mad scientist and mutant experiments. Low budget, high chaos, and completely unashamed of how nasty it gets. It also has a long history of censorship trouble and messy distribution. Exact rulings and cut lengths vary by territory and release. But the safe truth is, it was the kind of title that got refused, cut, or delayed in some places during that censorship-heavy era. And in others, it circulated in altered versions before cult fans tracked it down properly. And what earns it the top spot is the energy. It doesn't build to one big scene. It keeps escalating until you realize the film is running on pure 80s excess. Some movies are brutal because they're dark. Death Warmed Up is brutal because it's unhinged. That's the brutal side of 80s sci-fi, not sleek and heroic, raw, nasty, and sometimes treated like something you weren't even supposed to have in your house. So, which one messed you up the most? And which one feels like the movie you'd instantly regret putting on alone at 2 a.m.?